Working on the king's table to the street foods, a memoir on Delhi, where I grew up personally and have lived for past 60 years, was a fascinating experience. The first discovery which I made was that the present-day National Capital Region, the NCR, almost overlaps with the territory of the old Indraprastha, when the battle was fought at Kurukshetra, the great battle of Mahabharata between the cousins Pandavas and the Kauravas. And the 5 villages which Krishna was happy enough to settle for peace, where Panipat, Bagpat, Telpat, Sonpat and Indraprastha were denied, and Duryodhana haughtily said that I will not forget about these villages, I will not even give you land that can be put on a tip of a needle. Why was this? It becomes clear that strategically and environmentally, these 5 villages are the ones through which Jamuna flows. The entry and exit to the great capital is governed and regulated by these settlements. But what is more interesting from culinary history's point of view is that this peripheral area still is known for the great food which has confluenced here. People drive towards Panipat and stop at the dhabas of Murthal, which tempt the palates of the people living in the heart of the city. You head towards Mathura and you reach on the riparian road the dairy belt of the India. And the best halwais have come to the city of Delhi over the centuries from Rajasthan and this area of Mathura and its neighborhood. The other interesting feature of the food path is that the great Grand Trunk Road, originally built by Ashok as the Uttarapath, later reconstructed, repaired by Sheshah Suri, and of course refurbished by the British, the GTR, brought people from all distant parts of the country to the imperial capital. And there were caravanserais, which were the ancestors, the prototypes of the present-day dhabas, or the dak bungalows, or the hotels for the itinerant traveler, trader, tradesman, merchant, scholar, soldier. And the food has had a deep impact on the city, continues to have it. The other thing which interested me and fascinated me was how cuisine in this city is multi-tiered. And you can, like a parfait glass, like the Faluda glass of the Parsis, take a spoon, dig down, and you have sedimentary rock formations. Then the food which was eaten perhaps during the days of the Vedic Aryans continues to be eaten in the same form. The shak, the chana, the millets, the gehu, godhu, almost with minimal spicing, deep fried to have long shelf life till the present day. Whether it's chana kulcha, kulcha bhatura, it is there. Another fascinating aspect of Delhi's culinary history, which made me look differently at the city, is how it has imbibed diverse influences over the vicissitudes of history. And what has happened is these have become the outside delicacies, have become a local favorite. And I'm not talking of the Lashkari Khana of Nihari, which was the hallmark of Delhi, or the Sohan Halwa Shahi Ghante Wale Ka, which was supposed to be so tempting, so delicious, that the rebels who came here in 1857 forgot to fight the British and started gorging themselves with this halwa. This might, of course, be a canard spread against the patriotic soldiers by the British who suppressed the mutiny. But interestingly, if you have the more recent past, you come across something like a momo, or you come across something like litti choka. But momos are fantastic. Momos have displaced the traditional kebab, very famous, whether it's a Sikha skewer or it's a Shami kebab, totally from the pedestal. Now you have a momo which can be filled with the mince, which can be steamed, which can be fried, which can be go through the ordeal of fire in a tandoor, is served with meaty chutney. It is also filled up with noodles. It is draped with hollandaise sauce, served with mayonnaise. You also have chocolate momos. So this momo story, I think, is a very fascinating story which starts sometime centuries ago in Nepal and then has a Tibetan influence, comes to Delhi as a poor man's finger food, fast food, and becomes a favorite of Epicureans, the gourmets, who have a reverse snobbery to splurge on the cities. I think there are very many stories, the backstories of things in Delhi, which are half history, half fiction, but that is what brings people like a magnet to the city. You have talk of the Mughal imprint on Delhi's food. But most people forget that the original residents of Delhi were not only Mughals. They were Baniyas, Kais, Khatris, Kashmiris, Brahmins, Jats and Gujars who were on the periphery who stayed in the city. And Punjabis, pre-partition Punjabis, the Saudagarans who had come and settled down with the other immigrants, Kashmiris and the rest in Shahjahan's new city. Now all this food is as much a heritage of this city, continues to be this, a vegetarian food heritage, which eschews garlic, which uses asafoetida, and one stream which this has spawned is the chaats. And the chaats in Delhi did not originate here, although the backstory would say the water was contaminated, and to cure that the Shahi Hakim prescribed chilies, which of course came with the Portuguese, could not have been as popular then when the city was being built. And then of course to counter that you added Rogan. No, they probably came from Banaras, they came from Agra, they came from other places, but this is where they developed into a snack, a movable feast, which a khomchewala would carry from street to street and take to your house. Now, this is something which is being replicated in contemporary times, especially since post-COVID. Food has entered the people's houses because they were in an unforced lockout during the pandemic in their houses. So they ordered food, and untouched by a human delivery person, it was left at the doorstep, and you could order a lot of things. And this allowed people to experiment with newer flavors which had come, especially for the younger generation who did not want to eat very heavy food. They were bored of butter chicken, they were bored of mahdi dal, they were bored of the traditional chaat masala, and then came the element from Korea, the element from Japan, the element from Thailand, the Tex-Mex, the slices of pizza, and people also acquired a taste of these. So you have the continuation of an age-old process of the best produced from different parts of the subcontinent coming to the imperial capital, Bawarchis here experimenting with it, food coming from Awadh where some of the puppet emperors on the thrones protected by the Marathas had taken shelter and brought back their Bawarchis here. You have the small principalities which came into existence after the Mughal power declined, and the best Bawarchis there experimented with part Mughal, part Turko-Afghan and part local food, and all this is part of Delhi's heritage. So Delhi is really an oyster on the plate for the residents of Delhi, and I think this process continues, and one should not complain about it, because anybody who makes Delhi his or her home is a Dilliwala or Dilliwali. All you need is a heart to identify with the city, with all its problems, bad air quality, but great food. And this is what I think Emperor's Table to street foods is all about. Equally important, the meaty fare and the vegetarian fare, the street splurging, and the delicacies cooked in palatial kitchens.